Hello there and welcome back to the next stage of the PGL Copenhagen Major Pick'ems. It is the elimination stage. In terms of running order, we're just going to quickly run through the bracket because that's what people are really here for. We'll go into a bit more in-depth on the teams that are new to this stage and my reasoning behind my picks. You know, there is a method to the madness, I promise you that. And then we'll finally recap on the opening stage, which was less than stellar. I originally had the correct 5, and then I listened to the so-called experts and double-guessed myself. And that was my ultimate downfall. But I assure you, this time we very much will be going with my gut feeling. So just to kick it off quickly for those who are here, for the 3-0 picks, we are going to go with FaZe Clan, and we are going to go with Versus Pro. For the 3-1s and the 3-2s, we are going to go with Narcissus Insane RV, we're going to go G2, we're going to go Team Spirit, because you've got to rep the merch, you got Vitality, we've got Cloud9, and then the last one was a toss-up. I was umming and ahhing whether I wanted to go Mouse or whether I wanted to go Heroic. In the end, I went Mouse, just because I don't really know, but we'll get into that in a bit. And then unfortunately in the 0-3s, I will go with the Mongols, and I will go with Imperial. I'm just going to lock them in. Now, in terms of the justification, the 3-0s, we'll start there. FaZe Clan. I know they lost Twist, and he's a big loss, but arguably Frozen coming in is, in my opinion, I like Twist as a player, but I think Frozen might actually be an upgrade. Just in terms of, Twist is a very hot and cold player. He's very high highs, but he can have some very quiet games, and I wouldn't consider him a streaky player, but in my opinion, he's quite he can just go missing at times, whereas I feel like Frozen is more of a solid, consistent player. I don't know if he has quite the peak that Twist can have, but I think consistency-wise, you think he's also, I believe, young. Well, he is younger than Twist, so you've got that added benefit with the new game. It will be easy to pick up, and well, Twist didn't even qualify, so maybe there is some reasoning behind that. I know it wasn't an enforced change, but for me, FaZe, while they're not the highest peak team in the world, I think they're the most consistent. They got a solid core. Karrigan and Brain bring the experience, you know, like, for me, they're the most consistent team at the moment, and they will go 3-0 purely for that fact, because they're one of the very few teams, especially in the early days of this new game, they're one of the very few teams you can actually rely on. Virtus Pro, similar. The core's been around for the core has been around for a while. Even the team, though, they've held this same team for quite a while. You know, James picked up. They've looked quite good in CS2. They've looked consistent. Very similar style, where it's all calculated, no risk, very methodical and slow, but it seems to be working. And I suppose with the flux that the game is in right now, you need some, like, being consistent and regimented is actually a benefit, because it brings some structure and consistency to a game that otherwise is an absolute clusterfuck. But yeah, I think James, fantastic IGL, very underrated in my opinion. Much like Karrigan was at one point. Flit, Norbert, they've got some good players, you know, high fragging, good individuals, fit into the system really well. Moving on to the 3-1s, I think Navi are a decent team. I just don't think, like, for me, Alexi B is a fantastic IGL, and I think Wonderful is one of the best replacements outside of possibly Monacy you can get for Simple. I think Wonderful is so underrated. It's the rest of the bits. Like, for me, Bit is a fantastic player, but he's not quite at the level he was at in that prime Navi team, 2021. JL, he's an okay player. I don't know if he's quite championship quality player. And then, I can never remember his name. Ima, or Imi, or whatever he's called. He's, yeah, he's a very streaky player. He was very good at the last major of CSGO, but he hasn't really done it in Navi. He's looked better in CS2, I will say that much, but he's not quite at the levels I'd say that are there for the thing. I just also don't think that they will go 3-0. I don't have a feeling. G2, they're a weird one. G2 could very much go 3-0, and probably will go 3-0. And if I was picking it purely on, I'm kind of hedging my bets a little bit, but to be honest, I would pick G2 to go 3-0, and I'm deciding whether I want to swap them with VP or not. But for me, G2 have the potential to be the best team in the world. They've got Nico, who is, and maybe not in CS2 quite yet, but he's definitely the best rifler in CSGO history. CS2, I'm not quite sure if he's hit like quite the heights that some players have, particular Donk. but he's top 3 minimum, and he has the potential to be the best player, and he really brings out these tournaments. I know people say chokes, but Nico's actually a big player, a big game player. Normally the other players around him that seem to drop off a little bit, except for Boston, but we don't talk about that. Team Spirit, I think they very much are a bit of a flash in the pan, and but a lot of these Russian teams are. They always have been and always will be. It's like the old Entropic lineup or the Wind Strike. They do well at tournaments like the Major, and then you never hear of them again. But Donk's been looking fantastic. They've got some solid players on Team Spirit, and I don't think they'll win it by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they'll go to the last 16. The last 8, sorry, to the playoffs. Vitality, they could very easily be up there as well. I mean, they've got Mezzi they've brought in front of Magisk. That's definitely a downgrade. Like, Magisk is a solid player. He puts up the numbers. He's consistent. He's been there. He's done it. He's still very young as well. I think he may even be younger than Mezzi, but he's veteran. He's been there. He's done it. He's all of them things, and he is a big miss. But I actually rate Mezzi quite highly. He is representing Britain. He is English. We all love that. But I actually do rate him outside of that. Like, I think he is a solid player, and that C9 team, the Juggernaut, was very harshly judged, in my opinion, but it is what it is. But I think he's good. And then you have Flamesy, you have Spinks, and of course you have the Wu. Just the firepower is insane on that team. You know, it's a difficult one for me because Zai Wu is a fantastic player and might arguably be best player in CS2, but he hasn't done it in the knockout. He hasn't done it in the playoffs. The latter stages of the tournaments, he doesn't have them high, consistent levels. Like, I know he won a major in Paris, but teams they played, like, Game Elite, really, like, he has to show it. And this is the perfect opportunity. It's a new game. Show that you can just, like, take over and just destroy people on the biggest stage. And this is the perfect thing. But, like, likewise, G2. I talked about Nico, but, like, Hunter in himself is a top 20 player. He's a fantastic rifler. And we didn't even touch on Monacy. Like, one of the... he's a prodigy is what he is. He really is. And for me, he will be the best player by the end of CS2. I don't really have much doubt about that. He is so young and so good, so fast. And he is taken to this game like a fish to water. He is... There's not... Unless something like major happens, I don't see how he can derail his career. He's got that explosive style that's like reminiscent of Kenny. He's aggressive. He's just an all-round fantastic player. The only thing that can possibly hold G2 back is Huxley and Nexa are very... They do a lot for the team, but frags-wise, they can be an anchor of some sorts. I don't buy into the notion that Huxley is awful. I just don't think he's a top... Like, he's a good IGL, he's just not one of the best. And because his output in terms of fragging is so low, I think that's more obvious because he's not like the top 2-3 IGLs in the world, so he can't really justify the low fragging like a Carrigan can. I don't think he's bad as people make out, but I think he's good. I'm not just quite sure he's top tier good. I think he's like in that bracket just below top tier. And then Nex, I actually think Nex is a good player. I just don't think he should be your 4th best player. Like, he should be the IGL, but I know he doesn't like IGLing. Or, yeah, you need one of them to give more output, which is weird, because Nexa, when he was on G2 previously, did have the output, but Cloud9 we discussed in the last one, but just as a brief thing, you know, Electronic, Boomich is actually quite fragging, quite good, and he's just a good IGL. You've got Axile, who can turn it on whenever. Perfecto, solid player, like, Cloud9 are such a good player. Just such a good, like, fundamental team. They've got Groove as well, who I rate fantastically as a coach. I mean, Vitality, you've got Xtaz back as well. G2 have got Neo. And, is it Neo? No, G2 have got Taz. FaZe have got Neo. Can't mix up the Golden 5. But yeah, Cloud9's solid team. Don't think they'll win the major, but I think they can go far. And they're definitely one of the teams you'll need to beat if you want to win the major. And then finally, Mouse Sports. Like I said, it was a bit of a toss and throw between them and Heroic. Cyclone is fantastic. He did it at the Mouse NXT team, and he's carried it on into this. I think Jimpat is a fantastic player. They've got some really good young... Like, Sui is a good IGL. Like, they've just got some... They are just a young, good academy team, and young players take on games quicker because it's just how it is. It's like learning a language. It's easier to learn stuff when you're young, and they've got that raw mechanical aim. I think they lack some of the veteran ilk about them. They don't have the experience or someone when it push comes to shove, but they're definitely they're not a team that you want to play, put it that way, because they could beat anyone on the day, but not consistently, unfortunately. And then in the 0-3 pick, got the Mongols. They struggled a little bit. They got blown out the water in a few maps in the last stage. I still think they're... The problem is with these best of ones and just how the format works. I still don't understand why in 2024 we are playing best of ones and MR13. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'd bring back MR16 or 15, sorry, but that's just me. But or MR12 and MR15, I can never remember. But for me, if you're gonna do, you have to do best of threes, but they don't. But Mongols are always like both of these teams, to be honest. Imperial as well, but Mongols especially, I think, can easily have an upset. But we'll have to see. I just don't think they've got the experience. I think they've done well to get this far, but I just think this is where the show unfortunately ends. And Imperial, likewise, I just think the step up in the terms of the caliber of players at this stage is just so big. The one thing I will say is both of these teams are coming in fresh in terms of they've played in the last one, not fresh. They're coming in and they're warmed up. They played in the last stage. They're used to the setup. They're at the hotels. They're used to the arena. Whereas a lot of these teams are coming in cold. And I feel like one or two of them may get caught out, especially early on in terms of the 3-0s. But we'll have to wait and see. It might actually be better to put Cloud9 there just purely on that alone. But yeah, in terms of why I haven't picked these teams, I think Call are actually really good in CS2. Elise is fragging out of control, but I don't think they're as good as any of these teams. Alright, I think they were really good in the last stage. I just think Cloud9 edged them, and same with Mouse Spot, fortunately. But you could easily throw Heroic in there. I don't think they'd go 3-0. We could definitely replace them as, I'd say, Spirit, Mouse, and Cloud9 are the 3 question mark. Ecstatic, they've done well to get this far, and it's great that a Danish team has. I just think, unfortunately, this is where the road ends. Eternal Fire, again, they've got firepower where they won't go 3-0 just purely because Woxic and Dantares can have one of them games, but they're not going to go through, unfortunately. Pain surprised a lot of people. I thought they were going to do bad. They actually managed to make it through, surprisingly. Big Zero was unbelievable in some of the maps. Fortunately, again, I don't think it will be their time. And then Furia as well. I mean, they struggled. They were on the brink of elimination a few times. I think they were in the 0-2 game as well, so they were very close to going 0-3 in the last stage, and they squeaked through on the last game. But yeah, I just don't. They could go through, but they won't, unfortunately. But yeah, that was my roundup of the elimination stage and the justifications, and we'll finally cap it off with the opening stage. Oh god, where did it go wrong? So I originally had Cloud9 and Ents. That's fine. Cloud9 went through. Ents went out, which is kind of good because you either want them to go 3-0 or you don't want them to go through. That's fine. I originally had Lin Vision and who was it? It was Lin Vision, and it was testing my memory. I think it was Imperial. It must have been Imperial. Anyway, I had them going out. That didn't work. Legacy even nearly went through, in fact, so that was a bit of a disaster. They got very unlucky. They were in the thing. Eternal Fire I had going through. They went through, so that was a good pick. Heroic I had going through. They actually went 3-0, so that one doesn't count. Apex, I don't know what possessed me to pick them. I never rated them, to be honest, that much. But all the experts, or so-called experts, I do rate their opinions. I just like to put the jabs out there. They went as Apex. It was my downfall. They went out. So I had going through. They fell at the final hurdle, but that's fine. Furia had going through. That one was very lucky. Don't really have that. And then Gamer Legion, they went and lost to Imperial, so I didn't get that one right, but in terms of the picks I took out, I had Ecstatic going through. They made it through. I should have kept them in. And the other one that I took out was the Mongols, and they squeaked through. And if I'd had them, I would have had Cloud9, I would have had Eternal Fire, I would have had Furia, and I would have had the Mongols, and I would have had Ecstatic, but I didn't. And that is my own fault. And yeah, let me show the final standings. I got 3 right, and I was so close to getting 5, but it's brutal, but that is pick'ems for you, unfortunately. But yeah, that has been my recap of the PGL Copenhagen Major. We will lock it. Well, they're already locked in, but yeah, I will be back. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a pulse video because I actually will be at the major, so we'll have to see when they're open. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy, and yeah, I will see you around on the next video.